a few seconds.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's so great to see you all. And I thank you so much for taking the time out of what must be impossibly busy schedules to be here with me. And I hope you all learned something today about yourselves, about STEM, about what it really means to explore your interests without falling victim to that hustle culture and toxic consumer culture that's really pervaded our society in the past few years, but also truly engage with what you know and love as students. And it's something I'm learning a lot about as well as a student. So I hope I can learn alongside you all and get to learn more about you. So welcome to my presentation. It's about education and motivation and how we have evolved in this globalized world and how you can kind of build your own personal curriculum and navigate through STEM based on your own interests. Next slide, please. So first, before I get into who I am, why I'm talking to you all today, I want to learn a little bit about you. If you're more comfortable putting it in the chat, that's great, but I'd love to hear some of your voices if you're comfortable. How did you know what your favorite subject in school was or is if you're still in school or an undergrad, graduate school, whatever? What factors played a role in determining what subjects you liked? Was it more external or internal? Feel free to either raise your hand or put it in the chat. Okay, so you have neuroscience. Do you mind sharing a little bit about why you were drawn to neuroscience or how like you kind of developed that interest? It could be more grade school subjects too, like if you're more math inclined or history inclined, how did you kind of like that subject? Okay, great. So I'm seeing some answers in the chat. Chemistry. Oh, the chemistry is a hard one. I unfortunately have not had great luck with chemistry teachers, but I'm glad you did. And okay, pharmacology. Automotive engineering. That's so interesting. Having access to those kind of classes in high school is something not many people get the opportunity to do. So that's really interesting. And math problems, yes. Oh, and I never thought of AI as a glorified math degree, but I guess that is to some extent, but math has its own merits, and at least for me, math was something I never had really good teachers for either. So I guess educate teachers' interest has a great role to play. That's so fascinating. It's great to hear from you all. We can go on to the next slide. I'll tell you more about myself. Okay, so I'm a high school senior. And oh, we're seeing more responses in the chat. I'll take a brief detour. Okay, biomedical engineering. I'm going to talk more about intersectionality later, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so I'm a high school senior from Maryland. My name is Anshi, and I aspire to go on the pre-med track, pursue medicine, specifically neurology, but who knows, it's a long road, as I'm sure you all are familiar with. So all the processes in STEM take a while, and your interests really evolve over time. But alongside my passion for STEM, I'm the founder of an international literary magazine and a global health podcast. And I really like bridging the divide between mental health communication, healthcare communication, and it's really important to me that we disseminate scientific research in a way that the public can understand, because all too often there's this barrier between the public knowledge of healthcare and what the researchers know, and that creates this apprehension around how much the public knows about healthcare. It's something I'm passionate about, hopefully bridging journalism and STEM, which I'll get into more later if you're curious about that. Aside from more professional things, I love editing, videos, music. I love listening to music and hiking, and creative writing is something I'm also passionate about. So all these hobbies really keep me grounded, and they don't need to be monetized, which is something I'll go into again later in what it means to side quest and what it means to build a personal curriculum. But these are just some of the ways that I found highlight my interests and also align with my values in STEM. We can go into the next slide. Okay, so a lot of you all are students, and I know not all of you are teenagers, but you all are either emerging into your careers or just thinking about pivoting your careers. And I wanted to begin my presentation talking about the teenage experience. And it's not really just the teenage experience. I think it's the experience of pivoting or the experience of changing your career or wanting to make a change in what you think is best suited for your interests. And nowadays, we see adolescents and older people as well getting involved in advocacy and getting involved in entrepreneurship at a younger age because they feel as though their interests are diverse and they think they can monetize that and build upon that. So these are some statistics I pulled from national, international surveys that there's a lot of context that goes on behind why teenagers choose to get involved in certain disciplines. Our connections to personal education and our relationship with taking risks is really connected to each other. For example, a lot of teens say they use the internet almost constantly. And I'm sure that extends to a lot of people in general, right? Our world is globalized. A lot of us are on screens. We're consuming media at a rapid pace. And that really influences what we're exposed to and what frontiers we have for our education, for what we choose to consume in our knowledge. And we don't really have the choice, right? Sometimes on our social media feeds, I'm sure you all have been victim to doom scrolling, right? You've been victim to watching videos, short form content, because it's engaging, it captures our attention. It may not be amazing for us personally, but it stimulates us, and that's what we're drawn to. Another aspect of the evolving experience of adolescence is pressure from peers to reach a certain standard of success, which influences our education as well. And these two factors are really like in parallel. If they're taken in parallel, you can examine how it's influencing our generation and our experience with work, our experience with our career. No longer is a career a fixed trajectory of, I want to pursue medicine, so I'm going to just hunker down and study medicine for 10 years and then become a doctor, and that's all I'm going to do. I mean, yes, for some people that is a path that works for them, but more realistically, with finances concerned, this new rebranded teenage experience, what our youth adolescence experience going into careers is a lot more flexible. Like, am I going to take a gap year? Am I going to travel the world first? Or am I going to stay at home and care for a relative because they're in need and they need me? Or am I going to support my family? So there are different aspects that influence our ability to learn and how we have learned in the past. Now you can go into the next slide. So this kind of leads to my point about education in STEM and how it's evolved and why it's important now more than ever to make it both effective and accessible. So first, I know some people mentioned AI, and I feel like every single STEM conversation is going to mention artificial intelligence, going to mention some kind of AI tool. And I promise this is the one slide I will talk about it. I'm not going to lecture you guys about AI because I feel like nowadays it's just all you see, this AI bubble. It's all you see on the media. But it is a tool for active learning. If you're interested in a subject that isn't offered at your school, like automotive engineering, AI can be a tool that makes education accessible. Effective is another concern, because what is the difference between in-person teaching and a machine teaching you? So we'll go into that a little bit more. But another aspect is lacking engagement. I'm sure a lot of students don't feel engaged by all the professors, all their teachers, and that's a real concern in both the United States, where I'm from, and across the world, right? So you see that with technology creating stimuli like videos and short content that's more engaging to us because it retains our attention for these short bursts, live instruction is becoming less appealing, right? So I'm talking to you guys through a screen. That's obviously going to be less engaging than some short video that summarizes everything I'm going to talk about in 5 minutes, right? You'd much prefer to watch that. I might even prefer to watch that. But there's something about education that requires a kind of dynamic, really like conversational, something that will help you build your own conversational skills and engage with your brain in ways that make you make you more patient. And that leads to education as a business, and whether keeping like different models of education competing with each other, especially in STEM, right? So As someone who recently went through the college application process, it's really evident that education is a business, right? That the whole process of applying to jobs, to colleges, it's also they can attract young, bright students such as ourselves and then monopolize that experience. There's advertisements, there's college counseling services, there's job interview optimization. Who knows what they brand it as these days, right? And it really ties into creating STEM curriculums that evolve and adapt to our personal interests, because if the media is constantly providing us information on what we should be interested in, then we become more feeding into what the companies want, what the monopoly prioritizes over what we genuinely think is interesting and what makes science just so appealing to us as children, right? We're drawn to science because it explains the unknown. And if we're told what we should be researching, and if we're told, like, there's a difference, there's a really fine line, right, between what is shown to us and what we are passionate about. And I think both are necessary, but it ties into global issues overall. Now we can go to the next slide. Okay, so I have talked for a long stretch of time, but this is just some of the, I know there's a lot of images up here, but I was just curious about what your initial thoughts are about these images. They're somewhat different in a way, but I was curious about, when you looked at these images, what is the first thing you thought about, and why, if you're comfortable sharing. And I know while some people are more comfortable talking in the chat, I might just randomly call on one or two people while some people are typing in the chat. And if it's okay if you're not comfortable, but just curious. So maybe Nandini, are you there? Or not, that's okay. I know Tisha said something in the chat. Yes, utilizing your time. That's definitely a common thing, a common theme in the slide. How about Yumna? Okay. I'll wait for maybe a few more seconds if anyone wants to send a quick message. Okay, yeah. So we do see you're moving away from being from technology. That's definitely a common theme. You don't want preventing doom scrolling, right? And I'm sure you've seen this message quite a few times, right? Brain rot. I think it was the word of the year or something like that. You see these messages all the time, especially in common media. And it's kind of concerning, right? Because you know subconsciously you're a victim to all of these things, but you don't want to hear these messages. I don't want to, I mean, at least for me personally, I don't want to read another self-help book that's going to tell me to get off my phone. I know I need to get off my phone, but a digital detox in the woods isn't going to fix everything for me, right? I mean, maybe the ad says it will, but then I have to pay thousands of dollars to go into the woods, right? And you begin to see a pattern of something that is maybe will make a difference. Maybe it's scientifically proven. Maybe there are research studies to back it up. But is it sustainable? Is it equitable? That's a true question. For example, if you look at the dopamine menu, right? There's appetizers, entrees, sides, specials, desserts. It's almost as if it's you're treating yourself to make yourself less connected to the world. I mean, you're treating yourself to a few select things and kind of putting a fancy label on a schedule that used to be normal a few decades ago. A few decades ago, you wouldn't say, oh, I'm choosing an appetizer for my dopamine menu. You would just say, I'm going to go on a walk because I want to go on a walk, right? Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to do some activities on my anti-brain rot checklist, you would just say, I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to go talk to my friend. It's just normal. But now it's so abnormal that we are monetizing it and we are selling it. We're making templates for anti-brain rot, which I find really interesting. And it's really informing our knowledge on how we learn and what education is turning into, and which can be a good or a bad thing. And I see some more things in the chat. So Yeah, so all self-help books are the same. That's what a common argument is, right? So especially in the image I chose it specifically, right? This is not a self-help book, but it just might help you. I'm sure it's going to talk about very similar things to most self-help books. Again, it's a marketing strategy, and marketing and commodifying education is something we're seeing a lot, especially when we want to look into our own values and what we value in education. You see these similar messages and you get confused. I would get confused. I still get confused. The Courage to Be Disliked is really good. Maybe, is that a book, or is that, if that's a book, then that's cool. I might look into that. But I just wanted you all to get out of this that there are many tools out there, and oh, it is a book. All right, guys, everyone check that out. I will be checking that out. So what I wanted you all to get out of this slide is not that all brain rot detox options are bad or all self-help books are bad. It's just that there's a marketing tactic behind all of these solutions, and it's best to come to your own terms about building your personal curriculum that's different from this. What I'm going to do with you all today is not telling you how to build a dopamine menu, right? So also, I really like what Yamuna just sent in the chat, so I'm going to read that a little bit. So using scientific and medical terms has an adverse effect because the population gets desensitized to them, which I think is very powerful, what you just said, because a lot of young people get information from the internet, from social media, and when you kind of say, oh, this is going to detox the neurotransmitters and the chemicals in your brain are going to fire faster, like, okay, maybe, but those are just buzzwords to some extent. Not everyone knows everything about neurotransmitters and your dendrites and your synapses. Not everyone's a neuroscientist. Sometimes they're just going to see a fancy scientific term and take it way too seriously. So yeah, thanks for engaging with that. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so now we talked quite a bit about the different aspects of current society, but what are the solutions? I mean, I feel like another thing marketing does is it creates this echo chamber, and we begin to think there are no solutions and we're all doomed unless we go and buy the Forest all-inclusive wellness retreat package. But that's not the case. So here's some things that I found to be beneficial. I've spoken to quite a few people about the subject, and hopefully as we move into the more interactive part of the presentation, you gain something out of it. Now, my first point is rhetorical questions. So when you think about what you're passionate about, a lot of times the first question you ask a child, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I used to get frustrated by that question because I don't know, I'm 10, right? Or I don't know, I'm 18. I have a lot to figure out, but that doesn't mean I'm not curious about anything. And by creating this barrier around, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you think, okay, I can only be passionate about what I want to do in the future instead of what are you curious about right now? And that's why it's important as we grow older, especially, to keep asking ourselves these rhetorical questions. What do I gain from doing this activity? Why do I like it so much? How can I incorporate leadership in my community? And what do you gain from your current schedule? If there's something you do in your current schedule that gives you peace of mind, why does it do that for you? What does it give you? And I think it's important to be flexible with yourself in the initial phases of discovering why you do the things you do, because sometimes it's just, okay, I get up in the morning because I need to go to work, right? So not everything is as deep as it sounds when I'm asking you to ask rhetorical questions to yourself. It's more of self-reflection, which I feel like we don't give ourselves enough time to do, especially from a younger age when we're encouraged to find something we're passionate about right away. For example, when I talk to some of my younger siblings, cousins, and I say, wait, well, why do you want to pursue medicine? Because they say either, I want to be a doctor. And I was like, that's great. Well, why? Oh, because people say I should be a doctor, and you get to examine patients and stuff. And I said, okay, that's cool, but there's a lot in STEM that a lot of people aren't exposed to. For example, I didn't know that much about public health or epidemiology as something you could pursue as a career, right? And I was just ignorant to that because I never thought of integrating those two hemispheres of scientific disciplines. And that's why intersectionality is so important these days. As you can see in my second point, integrating STEM and the humanities. I love writing. I think creative writing is amazing. And the arts overall are really intersected with the natural sciences, and they're not studied in school. They're not treated that way in school, honestly, as interconnected. And just out of curiosity, you can send a reaction in that, like you can put a thumbs up in the chat or whatever. Or, like, I think there's a reactions tab. How many of you were taught this, that the sciences and humanities were interconnected? Did you all have like kind of like immersive education, or was it more like, was that not the case? While you're thinking about that, sometimes when we are like, when we're younger and we think, okay, I'm a science person or I'm a math person, but I'm not an English person because, oh, I got a bad grade, right? But as you grow older, it's like that just reinforces into a pattern. And I think it's important to look beyond the actual subject matter and whether it brings you interest rather than whether it conforms to your idea of on a grading scale, right? Because education is so standardized, it needs to be standardized. Otherwise, how do you pick who gets into these top colleges? You need to have a grading system. But if you're passionate about something you may not score the highest on, do you pursue it? And that's a question a lot of students grapple with on a daily basis. Right, Kavya. So it's great that you think that everything is interconnected, because I think it is human nature to assume that what we engage with in our world is connected, because that's how our world works. Not every discipline is separate from each other. They all are somewhat blurred together. And yeah, but it isn't marketed as a career path where things are linked. And it takes a lot of effort to go out of your way and engage with two different disciplines, right? The fact that you're here right now means you were curious, but what if you didn't know these opportunities existed, right? It's important to consider that. And right, COVID-19 did influence the quality of education. I'm sure that depending on the school system you're in, you may not have access to as many immersive extracurricular activities. And then how do you get access to the arts if you don't have access to those extracurriculars? Because a lot of schools, the first thing they do is they cut their humanities budgets, which is unfortunate, but true. And that's how yeah, it's not widely advertised until higher education, right? And I honestly think it should be, because you're teaching students to explore when they get to higher education, which is ironic because a lot of the cases in the, at least where I'm from, and maybe on a global scale as well, there are more public high schools, like public institutions for grade school than there is for a higher education. And higher education becomes more expensive. And that's when you kind of tell students, take your time, explore different careers, take different courses, change your major, stay in school longer and keep paying us, right? And then when you're younger, it's almost as if they want you to just go as fast as possible and not take the time to process what you may actually want out of your career. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm not sure whether I think we have a decent amount of people to do this activity, but let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we can pivot. But I was thinking to make, oh, okay, let me address Kavya's comment first. Right, so it really does depend on where you're from, and at least where I'm from, extracurriculars are really important in the college application process. But then you see at the same time the impact of extracurriculars depending on your socioeconomic status, what you have more access to, and whether you're doing extracurriculars that will look best on a LinkedIn profile or look best on a resume. And I think that it's a true gift to be able to have extracurriculars available to you. And it's amazing that we are able to do that in some areas, but it does, like, I think even in areas where it's more accessible, the quality of promoting extracurriculars is something beyond something you do for college or something you do for a resume or a personal brand. That also varies from place to place. But I'm glad you brought that up, because some people do have access to very good systems. Okay, so for our breakout room activity, I know breakout rooms gives us trauma from online learning, but I think it's a very powerful space to get personal about who you are aside from your academic and student, just like apart from the things that standardize your life. So when was the last time you challenged yourself in an academic area outside your comfort zone? And finances aside, what career would you pursue in an ideal world? And what intrinsic factors motivated you to do so? So I would like you to first go into these breakout rooms. It'll be like three or four people per room. And I would like you to introduce yourself to the people in your breakout room, either in the chat or, unmute. It's a smaller group, maybe it'll be easier. But you cannot mention your grade, your age, or what your favorite school subjects are. You can't mention any of those things, and you have to talk about yourself. And you have to talk about yourself for at least 20 to 30 seconds without mentioning any of those things. And I want you to reflect on how that impacts what you can say about yourself. And it's hard, surprisingly. And I want you to really reflect on that, and we'll share back when we're in the bigger group on why it was so hard to describe yourself apart from the quantification metrics we use in our common society, and whether you thought about that before. So are we able to do breakout rooms?
Okay, so unfortunately, we don't have our Google Workspace subscription yet. So breakout rooms, that feature is not available to us. But what we can do is we can have maybe people introduce themselves in this meeting.
Oh yeah, that's great. And I know that I don't like putting people on the spot because I don't like being put on the spot, but I guess I'll just like call people, and if they're comfortable doing this, no pressure, but it's a really cool exercise to do if you want to unmute and do that. So before I call on people, who wants to volunteer? You can just raise your hand if you want. Okay, that's fair. Honestly, that's fair. But let me see. Okay, so Ashley, would you like to try it? Okay, so we got one. Shakila? Hopefully I didn't pronounce that wrong. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Shakila.
All right, that's great. Okay, so you can pick any of the questions to respond to. You don't need to do the hard one if you don't want to. But yeah.
It's like that. I can choose one of these three.
Yeah, you can pick whichever one you want.
Okay. Regarding the first one, I can introduce myself without mentioning my grade, age, and my favorite school subject, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I want to go for this one. So, first of all, hello to everybody. And I am a girl from Afghanistan, and I'm a facilitator, and I want to talk about the journey of being a facilitator in countries like Afghanistan. Even though it's challenging, but it's exciting at the same time, because teaching is not only the journey of like educating others, or maybe teaching others something, but also giving them a hope, especially like situations that in Afghanistan, like officially the girls cannot study, but being a facilitator is really challenging. But at the same time, when you're a facilitator, you're not just teaching them, but you're also giving them a hope for their future. And giving others a hope is the main motivation that keeps me motivated, and keeps me like interested in this journey. That's what I'm still trying for, and that's what is still like, despite all the darkness, this journey is a light in the middle of darkness, and it made me stronger. And I don't want to exactly mention my age, but I want to say that I was in an age that I should have thought about my own dreams. I should have studied and until I achieved my dreams. But because of the situations in my country, I gave up on them. It was not like I gave up, but the situation, actually the government made me just forget those dreams, but still as a facilitator are working toward others' dream. Um, I even though like myself, I could not study what I was dreaming for, what I really wanted to follow, pursue. But still, I'm searching like for online opportunities to continue my education. Beside that, I am like a bridge for my students who can get to their dreams, and that's all.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's such an inspirational story. And I'm so happy you shared all of the inspiring things you're doing to support other students. And I hope everyone really takes that message to heart because you are really inspiring to your community. Now, the next person I see is Kavya.
Hello.
Oh, hello. We can hear you.
So I'm Kafia Kumari. I live in the UAE. Okay, so this is kind of hard because most of my introductions start with these. So I like imagining, I like creating, I like building things. I love Legos. I like everything that's creative. Basically, like I do music, I do dance, I like singing, I like art. And that's basically like what inspires me to like implement that in what I do. For example, even in studies, even in any other things that I'm pursuing. For example, I try to look for more and more opportunities to engage in every day, and that's basically who I am. The last time I challenged myself out in an academic area outside my comfort zone would probably be joining STEMQuest. It was like a huge leap for me because most of the things that I used to do were like constricted to school, restricted to like my community. But like when I heard about this opportunity, I was kind of skeptical at first, but slowly I like realized how important this could actually be, and I joined. So this was a great opportunity. Thank you to all the STEMQuest members for making this possible. And career options, I'm actually really open because I know I'm not supposed to mention this, but I like all subjects, so it's kind of hard to choose.
No,
Thanks.
yeah, no problem. And thank you for sharing. And I also used to I love building things, even though I'm not very good at it yet, but still love it. And I think it's amazing that you're embracing the idea that you're still exploring different careers, and that's why we're here. So I'm glad you're sharing that with us. The next person I see is Nandini.
Yes, hi, hello. Am I
Hello, we can
audible?
hear you.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to be answering the third question, what career I would like to pursue in an ideal world. Um, so I would really want to pursue a career as a criminal investigator or basically anything in the criminal science field. I've always been very driven by deep curiosity on human behavior, or just like really the need to uncovering truth through evidence and through basic logic. And I also really like how you can put so many skills like problem solving, persistence, critical thinking, and all of that. So yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I think we definitely need more of them in the world. So
Yes.
I wish you best of luck for that. Really.
Thank you.
The next person I see is I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong. Or Uranus. Uranus Atta. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Okay, if you want, if I'll come back to you later. The next person I see is Savita.
Hello everyone, this is Suita Ahmadi. I would like to talk about the last time I challenged myself. It was about 3 months ago because I was studying my university and there was another opportunity that I really like to take. It was six courses, like a university semester. So it was all very much about 12 subjects together. So at first it seems like I can't do that, but then when I managed my time and scheduled everything, so after 2 3 months I could successfully finish them, and that is what I really proud of that. Thank you.
No problem. That is amazing that you took the course out of your comfort zone and you completed it and you learned something from it. And that's something that's especially needed nowadays. So thank you for sharing that. And Oranis, if is your microphone working?
Hello for all. Yeah, I'm here. I'm Uranus Atwa from Afghanistan, and I'm 20 years old. About my career, I'm artist. I can paint and I can draw, and also I'm good and singing song. And it's my lovely always to sing and song, and also about the challenges in Afghanistan as a girls, all of the days be full of challenges to we are facing them. And I always say when someone asks me about the challenges for myself, I say I responded in Afghanistan who as like lives as a girls or woman. Their life is before challenges day by day. Everything's coming here possible. And about my dream, one day I hope everything's becoming true, the peace coming in our country, and we come back to the our knowledge, our study. And I'm busy with teaching. I'm in one school, private school, and I'm a teacher also, and like that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Your resilience is just truly commendable, and I hope that you get to pursue whatever your dreams are. And I think you definitely deserve that. Everyone here deserves to pursue the careers that will bring them the most fulfillment. And I think you all are really passionate about everything you choose to do, and that's something I definitely got from
Thank you so much.
the energy in here. And I know Miriam had her hand raised before. If you still want to share, that's okay. If not, that's also okay.
All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Mariam Ashraf. I'm from Egypt, so the pyramids and the stuff. Um, I'm a deeply introverted person. I suffer from social anxiety. I hate meetings. I hate interviews. And moving on to the next question, the last time I challenged myself was definitely before yesterday. I had an interview, and the interviewer was an hour late, and I had to join in while I was outside. And me and the interviewer kind of went on a debate whether content writing should be used by AI or stuff. And I was like, I left the interview and I felt down. I thought they would not accept me, but I just received that they accepted me. So yeah. And finances aside, what career? So I think even without like finance and stuff, I'm hoping to become a neurologist in the future. But hopefully I get good grades to pursue medicine overall. And thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, the bravery you had just to speak right now, and you completely rocked that interview. You should be really proud of yourself. I think interviews are terrifying. Presenting is terrifying. As a fellow introvert, I am terrified. But you're doing amazing. And I think our last person is oh, there are two people, but the first one I see is Nura Eco 2. I think that's just a phone number, but Nurafshan. We'll come back to you, but you're the then the next person sees Amal.
Hi everyone. I'm Amal. I'm from Egypt. I enjoy collaboration and sharing ideas, and I believe teamwork always leads to better outcomes. I like learning from others and contributing in a positive way wherever I can. I am happy to be part of the group and looking forward to working together.
Yay, collaboration. Yes, we need people who want to collaborate. I think a lot of people just don't like listening to others anymore, which is sad, but at least there are people here who care about that. Great to hear. Okay. Yes, our last person, if you're raising your hand, I can't really read your name, but Ego Nurafshan, you there? Okay. Then we also have Amruta.
Are you here?
Okay, the mic doesn't work. That's completely okay. So aside from finances, a sportswoman and an artist.
Okay, teacher, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. Sorry, it must have not been working before. We can hear you now.
Okay, my name is Nurafshan. I'm from Afghanistan and I am a facilitator in this breakout. And about the third question, I asked in the first question, you said what's your favorite subject in school. My favorite subject in school was mathematics because that subject was very interesting for me because if I solved the question on that term, that was very interesting for me. And the second question, you said what challenges you faced on the challenges and during your life or your studies. I faced with a lot of challenges, especially in this situation in Afghanistan. The education situation is very bad for every girls. They can continue their education, and I hope the situation we can change and we can continue our education in our favorite field. Thank you, dears, for your attention.
No problem. And I'm glad you were able to develop those hobbies and stick with them. And good luck in the future. I'm sure you're going to do great. And for Amrita, I just want to let you know that even if you feel like you fell off the athletic track or you haven't done art in a while, it doesn't mean it's gone away. Trust me. You definitely have it in you. It's like you just need to. I guess a lot of the times we're afraid to pick up hobbies we used to love because we're afraid we're not going to be as good at them anymore. But coming from someone who's given up quite a few times, it's a big regret. It's if it makes you happy, you should try it again. Just pick it up and don't do it for anyone else except yourself. And that's what really makes the whole experience powerful. And I'm sure you got this. And I think we can move on to our next slide. Okay, so I mentioned this a little bit before, but a lot of times when you start to build your personal curriculum and go back into hobbies you love, you're going to face two things: buzzwords and burnout. And burnout is a buzzword, so isn't that funny? But we are always going to be the target audience of something. We're consumers in a consumer culture, which means that we're going to be looking through science articles that we're passionate about and then see a pop-up on the screen that says, are you good at writing? Are you good at art? Then you got to be this good, and then we'll pay you for it. And then you need to market this. And, if you're doing a hobby for fun, you're wasting time. The amount of times I've told people I read for fun, and they're like, you read for fun? You're wasting all that time? And I said, well, I'd like to do it. Well, that's wasting time. I think there's this idea of time as something that needs to be hoarded and only used for productive things. And what defines productive, right? I mean, I think if you can sit down and watch a movie for 2 hours straight without going on your phone to scroll on Instagram or YouTube Shorts or whatever, then that's productive in this day and age. And when you're going into your personal curriculum and researching what you find passionate in education, what really breaks the cycle of education is something that's standardized and only used for building your career and not for your personal enjoyment. What makes education labeled that way is by falling into this trap that you need to produce something of value to someone else for it to be meaningful. You don't need to produce something of value to someone else for it to be meaningful, especially if you're curious about something. And so I just wanted to put that out there. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so got a chat message. Okay, yes, monetizing everything is diabolical. And I think it's easy to fall into that trap of self-doubt because we're all young people or people who are emerging into our careers, right? So you're going to be asked in interviews, why do you do what you do? What hobbies do you do? And they're going to be assessing you on that. You've got to learn, and it takes time. If you like writing and you want to submit to literary magazine, go for it. But if you get a rejection, that doesn't mean you should quit. And trust me, I've been rejected quite a few times. I've given presentations that sucked, and I've given presentations to 2 people. But I still like teaching, and I still like putting it out there because I think even if you don't have the experience of a professor, you still have a story and a powerful narrative. Everyone does. And that's really important to stay true to, especially during a process in a world that's always evolving. There's no way to grow your skills without taking that first risk. And that brings me to developing your own creative curriculum. And this isn't like a dopamine menu or a go into the woods and just disconnect from life and then come back and you're a new person. I know it's the end of the year for a lot of us, and that brings a lot of expectations, especially what's your New Year's resolution? What have you failed at this year? And how are you going to make it better next year? And I think there's no set day or deadline where you have to change your whole life. You don't need to change your whole life in a day or a month. And that's what makes it unsustainable. And this creative curriculum is just redefining what education is for you. Because education isn't just something you get a grade on. Education is something that gives you direction and makes you feel like that little kid who got fascinated that, oh wow, I can see a constellation in the sky. Isn't that fascinating? That's real education. And I think that's what a creative curriculum can help you with. It's not a rigid framework, but I think structure works for a lot of us. It's something we're used to. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this structure. So developing a creative curriculum, the first step I would do is pick a platform. It can be in a journal, it can be a Notion template, it can be a Google Calendar, but Google Calendars kind of scare me when it's not about meetings, so I don't know about that. But you could even do vision boards if that's something you're into, and that's where you keep all the things you want to explore, right? And what you can find a lot of templates or content creators who cover how to create your own learning platform, but it's all about learning to learn and learning about what inspires you. And so if you want to do this digitally, it's mindful. It's not really scrolling. It's more like mindful consuming, which is you have a direction. For example, you said I've always wanted to learn calligraphy. So let me go and just probe the internet for stuff about calligraphy, or I'm really interested in neuroscience and biology, but I don't know much about either, or I do know a lot, but I don't know about modern innovations or how that connects to public health. And I want to explore that because they don't offer that at school. Education isn't just limited to what you learn in the classroom, right? So my recommendations are below. It's kind of tiny print, but some of the media I consume if I want to learn more about contemporary aspects of healthcare, Quantum Magazine, Big Think, Neuroscience News. I subscribe to this a daily poetry site, which just sends a new poem to you every day to your email, which I think is really interesting. And it exposes you to different styles. I'm not going to be a poet. I mean, I love poetry. I like reading it. I write it sometimes. I'm not writing it for anyone except myself, and that's okay. So that's kind of the process for creating a curriculum. It's not like you're a professor and you're going to assign yourself assignments, but it's always great to reflect every time we learn something new and write maybe a paragraph or 2 about what you learned, not as an assignment, just as a way of engaging. Because believe it or not, the essays you hated when you were in grade school actually originated from the French word essayer, which is related to words of creating and analyzing what you've learned, synthesizing your knowledge, because passively consuming something is only as good as watching something and forgetting about it 5 minutes later. It's where true creativity begins is when you synthesize that knowledge. And what a lot of people a long time ago who had no financial constraints and nothing to worry about, they would just sit there and write. And that's what they would do with their knowledge. So that's just kind of a creative curriculum template I have for you all. And don't forget, this is for you, not for getting a grade. And go on the next slide. I think that's it for today. But I'm always open to taking questions. I wanted to save some time for that. I know there's like a few minutes left. I hope you got something out of this. And if you have any questions, I will take any questions about like anything at all. Yeah. I'm not sure if the hand is from before or from now, but